it feels to me as if everyone knows the impeachment investigation is over.
Well, House Republicans move to impeach President Biden. We still don't know. But now, a latest development could derail hardline conservatives' efforts. New court filings show that a former FBI informant behind a discredited claim that President Biden's son Hunter received bribes is allegedly linked to Russia intelligence. Alexander Smirnov was arrested last week amidst allegations that he made false statements to his FBI handler. But court docs made public this week show that he could be linked to Russian intelligence. Now, Democrats say that this latest revelation should be the beginning of the end of Republicans' efforts to impeach President Biden. It comes the same week that the House Oversight Committee, chaired by James Comer, met behind closed doors with the president's brother, James Biden, who denies allegations of any wrongdoings in the family's international business dealings. Joining me now with the latest is The Hill's Brett Samuels. Brett reports on the White House. Brett, this later Russia allegation, is this going to sink Republicans' impeachment effort?
It definitely does not help the effort. I don't think it's going to sink it as far as stopping it in its tracks. It seems like Republicans have come this far. They didn't come this far to give it all up now and take their ball and go home. But that said, I think it really, it just gives more ammunition to White House folks who have told me that this is just more proof that this whole thing is a sham and politically motivated. And it really could create some problems for House Republicans when it does come time to bring this up for a vote, because their majority at this point is just a couple seats. So if just a couple House Republicans decide that this isn't enough to impeach the president on, that's it. That tanks the whole effort. So it really complicates things, I think, for House Republicans here.
What are your sources telling you, Brett, about the president's brother testifying behind closed doors? Any new developments?
So we saw James Biden, the president's brother, testify for a House panel, and he basically, White House officials told me that this is what they've been saying all along. James Biden went and told lawmakers that the president had no stake, no investments, no dealings in his family's business interests. That's what the White House line has been basically since this whole thing started. So this is just more of the same as far as the White House is concerned, and just further bolsters their case that there's no there there.
Meanwhile, President Biden speaking at a fundraiser, calling Russia President Vladimir Putin an SOB. He actually said it. I can't say the word. But he also attacked Donald Trump for comparing Trump's legal troubles to Alexei Navalny. What's the White House telling you about that?
Well, so President Biden has really been aggressive here on this. He has not been able to get the House to pass the national security supplemental with funding for Ukraine. But in lieu of that, the president has really taken the gloves off, really attacking House Republicans for going on recess without passing this aid, really getting upset about that. He's really gone after former President Trump for his comments about Alexei Navalny. And obviously, Trump has his own problems as far as being viewed as sort of a Putin apologist or soft on Russia. And now the latest at this fundraiser in Northern California, where we heard the president refer to Vladimir Putin as a crazy SOB. So just kind of the latest example where White House officials are saying, they're really willing to go full bore on this. They view this as something where the American people are on their side as far as supporting Ukraine, standing up to Russia. And they're not afraid to take the gloves off and get aggressive here with House Republicans to keep pressuring them to pass support for Ukraine.
Meanwhile, Trump wants a 30-day extension to pay out a $355 million fine that was announced by a New York judge last week. And New York Attorney General Letitia James says that she is prepared to seize Trump's assets if he doesn't pay up. This is all because he was found guilty of inflating his net worth in order to get more favorable loan terms, amidst other charges. He says he's going to appeal. But when you talk to Republicans, Brett, are they concerned that this is going to hurt the former president financially in his efforts to run for president?
Well, it's already hurting him in the sense that, a huge chunk of his campaign cash is going to pay off legal fees. Filings have shown that Trump's campaign and the super PACs that support Trump for president have been paying millions and millions of dollars over the last year, basically, to cover lawyers' fees and other legal proceedings. So it's already hurting him in the sense that, Trump has cash on hand, I think it's like $30 million as of the end of January, whereas the Biden campaign has over $100 million cash on hand. So I think this is definitely something that Republicans are sort of nervously keeping an eye on. And this is one reason why I think a lot of Republicans are really eager to basically declare Trump the presumptive nominee. What Republicans have told me is that once that happens, once Trump has clinched the delegates to become the presumptive nominee, he gets to open up all kinds of joint fundraising options with the Republican National Committee that will boost his campaign coffers some. But certainly this is something to keep an eye on. It's 9 months till Election Day. We've got a long slog ahead of us. And the cash difference could play a big role in what's going to be a close election.
Brett, could Trump Tower be seized up there in New York?
Not anytime soon. I think this is something, as you mentioned, Letitia James could seize Trump's assets if he does not pay up. It doesn't seem like Trump Tower, Mar-a-Lago, and these major properties that he owns are at risk anytime soon. But certainly Trump is going to fight this. And I think that questions like that are only going to become more and more relevant the longer Trump refuses to pay, basically.
Well, here in Washington, D.C., it wasn't seized. It went out of business. The Trump Hotel, the old post office building, is now a Waldorf, but it's the old post office building. I mean, that was only a couple of years that thing tweaked and was moved. It's fascinating, that building right downtown from where the Hills newsroom is. Anyway, Nikki Haley says that she considers an embryo an unborn baby. Her comments come after an Alabama Supreme Court decision ruled that frozen embryos should be subject to legislation dealing with the wrongful death of a minor. What has the reaction been on this from Nikki Haley's camp? What have the Democrats been saying about this? And really, what does this mean in terms of how this Alabama case could impact millions of Americans around the country once it ultimately likely ends up at the Supreme Court?
So this ruling could really have wide-ranging impacts. If it were to stand, and if it were to be appealed and then continue to stand, this could essentially mean that millions of families who struggle with fertility issues and who go to IVF to try and have a child of their own, essentially that would be an option taken away from them potentially. So this could really have very, very wide-ranging impacts on millions of Americans who are trying to have a family. Now, Nikki Haley has already kind of tried to walk back her comments and say that she didn't necessarily agree with the Alabama ruling, even if she said that she believes frozen embryos are babies. So she's trying to kind of walk a very, very narrow tightrope there, I think. Democrats are really sounding the alarm over this. They're saying, this is just the latest example. If Republicans win back the White House, if they win both chambers of Congress, this is the kind of future we're headed towards where, not only will they look to restrict abortion, but they'll look to restrict IVF. And access to reproductive health care will just be totally curtailed under Republican leadership. So this is just kind of the latest front in what is shaping up to be, if not the key issue in the 2024 race, one of the key issues, which is this fight over abortion access, over reproductive health access. So certainly this is something that is going to have huge impacts, both politically and just, at the kitchen table for millions of Americans.
Millions of Americans. That is definitely an issue. That's one to stay on top of and one to watch. Final question for you: what's going on with President Biden's dog, Commander?
It is truly a story of dog bites man over and over and over again. This is the second Biden pet dog, second German Shepherd that they've had at the White House that has had some incidents with biting staff, with biting Secret Service agents. These new documents, which were first published by CNN, showing that Commander, the Biden dog, the younger Biden dog, was involved in at least 24 biting incidents.
Hold on. I'm not trying to interrupt you. Commander bit 24 times at least Secret Service agents. I mean, 24 times this dog bit. I mean, how does this dog still have a job?
Well, it's important to note that Commander no longer lives at the White House as of October. So he did, he was on a short leash, so to speak, and he did get sent away and is now living with other Biden family members. So we had consequences for the dog there. But certainly it's tough. The Biden family, they've issued statements saying that they tried different leashing techniques. They tried to talk to veterinarians and dog behavioral experts, and nothing took. And, this is just a reminder. It's tough. It's tough on dogs to move to the White House, not just people.
Well, I mean, but in all seriousness, I mean, there's a lot of serious things right now. I mean, if Commander's biting Secret Service agents, I mean, it does raise security concerns. It does raise issues of concerns, and you gotta train your dog, folks. I mean, I'm a dog owner, and I love my Theo. He's a puppy. And I just got to be honest, when you take Theo to the dog park and you see these dogs, some of them who aren't trained, I'm not saying Commander goes to the same dog park, Brett, but you see some of these dogs who aren't trained. I mean, every dog owner in America can relate to this. You gotta make sure your dog isn't biting people. I mean, am I right?
You're right. As a dog owner myself, shout out to my little beagle Piper.
All right, Piper.
It's a risk when you see these dogs that, like you said, may appear a little aggressive. It makes you a little nervous. So I can only imagine the Secret Service agents, patrolling the White House, how they were feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And they're incredibly brave individuals who work in the Secret Service as well. Brett Samuels, you know what they say, the old adage in Washington, if you want a friend in Washington, get a dog. So I got one. Brett Samuels, White House reporter for The Hill. Excellent reporting as always. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Kevin.
Jurors in New York continued their deliberations in a civil corruption trial against Wayne LaPierre, the former CEO of the National Rifle Association. LaPierre resigned from the NRA just as the trial was beginning, in which the NRA leadership is accused of wasting millions of dollars in lavish spending. LaPierre's legal team is taking a page out of the Trump legal defense playbook and calling it a political witch hunt. A new study by WalletHub measured 116 cities in America to determine which city was the hardest working in the country. Guess what? The hardest working city is not New York, it's not LA, it's not Chicago or Philadelphia. Washington, D.C. has been ranked the hardest working city in America. I guess that may come as a surprise to many of you, considering that Congress works on average about 2 days a week, but who do you think is the hardest working city in America? Is it Washington? Is it where you live? Let me know in the comments. That's it for today's Daily Debrief. My name is Kevin Cirilli. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to The Hill's YouTube channel. And come back here soon for the intersection between politics and policy.